resuming debate.
On debate, the member for Central Okanagan-Similkameen-Nicola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and it's a great honor to respond to the speech from the throne on behalf of the citizens of the new riding of Central Okanagan-Similkameen-Nicola. I'd like to just inform you, Mr. Speaker, that I'll be sharing my time with the great member for Thornhill. Now, time is valuable in this place, and thus I'll get directly to adding a few comments that are of great concern to my riding. The largest single void in the speech from the throne is that there is zero mention on the need to prioritize a new Canada-United States softwood lumber agreement. Now, let me provide pause for a moment here, Mr. Speaker. In Princeton, British Columbia, over the past few decades, a lumber mill has been the single largest private employer in that community. Now, the same goes for Merritt, British Columbia, BC, where there are a number of lumber mills. And I also have to say it's the same situation in my home community of West Kelowna. These mills drive local economies, and make no mistake, for every lumber mill there are many spin-off jobs and small businesses who also depend on the health of the BC forestry sector. Now, it is not just softwood lumber and the forestry industry that the throne speech is silent on, Mr. Speaker. There's also no mention of mining. In Central Okanagan-Similkameen-Nicola, we are fortunate to have two major mining operations that provide hundreds of well-paying resource jobs. Now, right now, the mining sector is very nervous, as our Prime Minister recently slighted our former Prime Minister in Davos over the very subject of natural resources. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'm here to tell you clearly that natural resources and resource development is not a dirty word. And it may not fit into the new Prime Minister's narrative of sunny ways and selfies, but make no mistake, communities in my riding very much depend on these well-paying jobs. Now, the Prime Minister should also know that, that the people that work in this industry are extremely resourceful, but also they are extremely technologically dependent. In fact, mining, Canada is known to be the leader in the development and utilization of robotic mining, Mr. Speaker. The mining sector itself it uses as many computers, is only second to the use of computers in Canada to the federal government. Things I think that people should know. And in the forestry sector, innovation drives that sector because it is so dependent on productivity. In fact, robotics and new methods of global positioning, satellite work, are constantly being used to make that sector more and more productive. So to imply that resourcefulness is not involved in getting Canadian resources to international markets is an insult to those who work so hard to make our economies grow. Now, my other major concern in the speech from the throne, Mr. Speaker, is the lack of clarity around infrastructure. Now, the throne speech references transit spending, social infrastructure, and green infrastructure, but is silent largely on civic infrastructure. Now, let me explain why this lack of clarity is a major concern, not just in my riding, but throughout many parts of British Columbia. In British Columbia, the Prime Minister named only 3 members to his cabinet. However, none of these 3 have been named as the lead British Columbia regional minister. Now, this creates challenges for municipalities, Mr. Speaker. More so for municipalities located outside of the Lower Mainland, as these Liberal ministers all represent ridings within a short distance of one another. And now, I have concerns on the throne speech, but the final point I will raise is that it is also completely silent on the subject of pipelines. Now, why is that a concern? Well, as an example, the Trans Mountain Pipeline will generate $13 million annually in tax revenue for the regional district of the Thompson-Nicola. Merritt alone, who currently collects $150,000 from the existing Trans Mountain Pipeline, would see that increase to $250,000 a year as a result of the expansion. Now, they are huge sums of revenue for small local governments. Not to mention an estimated $419 million in pipeline-related construction just around Merritt and area and other communities. Now, let's be clear. The Trans Mountain Pipeline was first built in 1953. It does need to be replaced, and twinning is a cost-effective solution that will help communities in my riding. But the Trans Mountain project is not the only one missing from the throne speech. There's another kind of pipeline proposed for BC, and that involves British Columbia liquid natural gas, or LNG. BC LNG proposes billions, and I'll say that again, billions of dollars of new investment for British Columbia. Now, and we should not overlook the good work of the BC government in signing roughly 61 agreements with 28 different First Nation communities along the proposed LNG pipeline route. Now, does the Liberal government support this critically important project? We have no idea. The throne speech is completely silent on these private sector projects. Now, billions of dollars of investment for these projects at a time when jobs and investment are needed, and there's no mention of them in the throne speech. Now, does everyone agree on these projects? Well, no. But has there ever been a major project in any province at any time that does not draw naysayers? Absolutely not. And that is the final point on the throne speech I will leave for this place. For those who have been in government before, maybe you've served as a local councillor, as a mayor. Maybe you've served as a cabinet minister in a provincial government. Eventually, you all know that difficult decisions need to be made. Timelines are required. Processes need to have transparency as well as certainty. And this is what attracts investment, creates jobs, and completes projects. Naysayers and social license did not create this country. Those things did not build Canada. Hard work, investment, vision, leadership from those who were not afraid, Mr. Speaker, to make those difficult decisions to build a bigger, stronger country. Now, this is the vision my constituents were looking for in this throne speech. I might also add that these are not just concerns, there's not only these concerns that are missing from this document, they are also not mentioned in, many of the things I've mentioned today, Mr. Speaker, are also not mentioned in mandate letters, which is, to me, troubling and somewhat alarming. In fact, as an example, we'll take the important subject of interprovincial trade. Our Prime Minister has given himself the role of Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs. But where is his mandate letter for the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs? Missing. Now, what kind of message does that send? Mr. Speaker, there are many other concerns that I would like to raise. However, I've summarized my comments today to illustrate some key concerns as they relate to my riding, my province, and things I'd like to see as a proud Canadian. Now, I would like to thank all members of this place for taking the time to hear my concerns today. And I look forward to working with all of you together to build that Canada that I know many of our constituents would agree we need to work together on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.